The government has announced the producer price for cocoa, at which the licensed cocoa produce buying companies will buy from farmers. You've heard a lot of figures, a lot of terms. Call it FOB, call it the producer price, exchange rate, mathematics, and everything. The minority in parliament says that the amount is not enough, particularly considering the sort of promise that was given by some persons within the NDC, specifically the agric minister as well as the finance minister. We're going to look through the position of the minority through someone who has been doing this job for quite some time, since 2005, I should believe. But so we are joined by the Honorable Akwasi Onyina-Acheampong, Member of Parliament for Kwabre East. You've been doing this since 2005.
Since 2005, yes.
Doing cocoa.
Then cocoa, and along the way diversified into other things, but it was also still in the cocoa industry. And so since 2005, I worked with a company called Sumpa Cocoa as a district manager, first stationed at Sankore. And then that was a brief stint at Sankore from November till February, March 2006, before I moved to the Amansia West district. The capital is Antwerp. That's the cocoa capital. And so I was based at Mansour Dubia. So I based there for 4 years before, the company transferred me to Upper Denshire West, Diaso is the capital, and also as a district manager. So at Diaso is where I moved to the then Amajaro in 2011. And then as a district manager, but then Amajaro had a term called franchise holder. It's the same equivalent to district manager. And so that's the structure. So from Amajaro is where I started climbing the ranks.
You went all the way to general manager?
Yes. So from Amajaro, I were from the franchise holder. A year afterwards, I was promoted to area manager. So area manager will have a certain number of districts that you look after. And so I was managing 9 districts then. And then from there, then I was promoted after a year also to operations manager. And then operations manager will have a number of areas. So in total, I was having around 36 districts, spanning from the Western South, the Central region, Eastern region, and parts of Ashanti region. I was managing there. Before 2016, I became the acting LBC head. LBC is the license buying company. So I became the acting LBC head for Amajaro. And at that time, somewhere in 2013, a company called Ecom Agro-Industrial, they took over Amajaro worldwide. And Ecom was in about 40 countries then. So they took over Amajaro. So then the name changed to Agro-Ecom Ghana Limited, which was AGL. It's still now AGL. And
so it is during the time of Ecom that you became the general manager?
Yes. So during Ecom, then I became general manager substantively after the acting LBC head. That was in 2017, I became general manager. And since Ecom had about 5 companies in one, 5 separate entities, but they were all under the Ecom umbrella.
And all dealing with cocoa?
Not all. So we had AGL dealing solely in cocoa. Then you have Unicom Commodities, had cocoa and cashew. So at one point, I was the general manager for both Unicom Commodities, which was the cocoa wing of Unicom, and Unicom Specialty Commodities, which was the cashew and the other commodities wing.
So you did all this until 2024?
So I did all this until March 2024 when I resigned. And after winning my primaries, to come do full-time politics.
Do you consider yourself a farmer?
Yes, I've own some. I have some cocoa.
Then the government says it has done well. We'll come to whether it has done well. So, as a cocoa farmer, you should be benefiting.
I have, poultry and stuff. But as you said, we will delve into whether the government has done well or not. Basis my knowledge of the industry.
Before we get into the specifics of it, somebody will assume that you did agric in school.
I didn't do agric in school. As they say normally, your first degree is usually to prepare you and to push you for anything else, and just prepare your mind, set the tone for anything that you want to do. And I believe that, I studied psychology in first degree. I did management economics, but basically I also did education and B.Ed. My degree is B.Ed. psychology, but then it had all these various components. But I decided to specialize and concentrate on the management and the economics side.
So you send that to the farm. Yes. Now let's look at the cocoa value chain. There's been a lot of talks. We know there are farmers. At least we are picking that there are licensed buyers, and then we know that there's cocoa board. We also know that there's the cocoa marketing company. Are these the only players within the value chain?
No, we have more. So from the farmers, you come to the purchasing clerks, who are the aggregators at the village level, but we call it society. So the farmers, after harvesting and just breaking the pod, fermenting, they bring the cocoa to the mat, and then it's there where they interact with the purchasing clerks. They sell to the purchasing clerks. So the purchasing clerk will be in the village with the tools of trade, the scale, the tarpaulins, and the other stuff. And then so
the purchasing clerks are like the eyes, the agents of the produce buying companies.
Agents of the license buying companies. So every purchasing clerk is registered to a certain licensed buying company. Right?
And they are supposed to make sure that the produce that you will buy eventually meets standards.
Exactly. So they buy according to the standards, and they standardize the weight that is required, and then they send it. So a transport side also exists, and they send it to the warehouse of the license buying company. At the warehouse is where they will do all their calculations and checks, and then they will invite the quality control, which is part of cocoa board. It's a wing of cocoa board, to come and check the quality. So in checking the quality, they check the moisture, they check the bean count and other stuff, the quality itself, and see if it falls within the quality parameters. And then they do the sealing and the grading. So based on whichever quality there is, they'll grade it into either a main crop quality, which is the big beans. Previously, we used to have super main crop, very big beans, and then they grade it to super main crop, and light crop quality, or super light crop quality, basis whatever quality parameters that cocoa board or quality control brings for the season. And once that is done, then QCC, that's the quality control company, certifies it, and then you do all your weigh bills and documentation, and then transport it to the ports, the various ports, either Kase or Takrade or Tema, depending on the district.
So it's very it takes a very structural position in purchasing cocoa. Means that you can't ask an individual just walk to any society and say, I'm buying this cocoa.
You can't. You need to be licensed, properly licensed. And even the purchasing clerk needs to be also registered to a certain company. And there are other things like traceability and stuff that follows through, because every bag that you bring has a mark. And that mark tells you which region the cocoa is coming from, in that region, which district the cocoa is coming from, in that district, which society or village, and even up to which farmer which purchasing clerk. Because the purchasing clerk will also have an ID. So there is a full traceability system also out there.
It looks like the buying process is a bottom-up approach, yes, for want of better description. But the payment is a top-down
approach. Exactly. So usually the license buying companies, what used to happen before was Cocoa Board used to give seed fund allocation to all the license buying companies. But just recently, they decided not to give the foreign-owned businesses seed funds. So they are now just given to the local just to boost them, right? And so once the money hits the company's accounts, so the process of the transfer, depending on how many bags the buying company wants to buy during that week, it goes there. So the purchasing clerks, the district managers or franchise holder will also do the analysis and then also give that money to the pre-finance. Usually the main thing that is going now is pre-finance, because you need to pre-finance it mostly.
So we'll come to the mode of purchasing, but I'm looking at setting up the price.
Yes.
So it looks like you cannot go to a farmer and negotiate with a farmer that I want to buy your cocoa for this amount.
No, because cocoa is highly regulated. It's not like cashew that is dictated by world market price each and every day or each and every week. Cocoa prices are set for the season. Season is usually 1 year. From usually used to be October to September, but now it's gradually moved from September to August. Now that they've opened the cocoa in August, it's definitely going to move from August to July. Okay, so it's usually a season, a 1 year cycle, which is based on futures trading. So you can't just say the world market price is this, and so basis that we are setting the price the next 3 months, we look at the world market price and say, because world market price is at this level, we are also selling at this level. No. Ghana trades basis futures. And so once you agree on the futures price, it carries on for the next year.
So regardless of what happened, that price is...
Exactly. So it has the pros and cons. So if the world market price drops along the way, we are assured. If it increases along the way, tough luck. Which is why it was very ingenious and very dishonest on the part of the NDC when around last year, December thereabout or March, when they knew that the prices had been set for that season months back, and there was no way the MPP government was going to change the prices along the way midstream, because you already agreed on a contract.
So you said that when the NPP in NDC in 2024 was asking for the prices to be increased to 6,000 cedis, they knew of a convention that regardless of what happens, it had to be 3,100.
Yes, regardless. So they knew that basis the futures prices that had been set, the agreement that had been done, and was set as 4,850, which they even quoted themselves. So they means that they knew. So along the line, when the world market prices shot to $10,000 or $9,000 per ton, and they were now putting pressure on the government to change the price to 6,000 or between 6,000 and 7,000, they knew it was a dishonest activity that we were embarking on, because they knew.
So you're saying that now that they've placed their FOB at 7,200, if world prices move all the way to 13,000, 14,000, it will be disingenuous on anybody's part to say increase the prices now.
Well, the same measure that you met out with someone.
That
it depends. Now, the finance minister is not coming clear, because previously, you go for a syndicated loan. And the syndicated loan, like I said, will be an agreement for a year. This time around, we don't know what measures they are using to fund, because we know last season, MPP didn't go fully for a syndicated loan. All right. And so at some point, they could change the price from 2,070 to 3,100.
But they say you had committed to certain contracts to the extent that you didn't have enough produce to even supply at 2,060.
Exactly. Because the syndicated loan agreement usually will not just come like that. It will come with the decided or dedicated quantity. Let's say, okay, you are forecasting that in the year you'll be able to produce 800,000 metric tons of cocoa. And then you are forecasting that, okay, the world market price will be around plus or maybe $3,200 averagely. And so based on that, you do it. And you are forecasting that your CD to the dollar will be around 10 cedis. So these three things are major in determining your farm gate price. the world market price at that time that you agree, the tonnages, and the CD to dollar, and then the FOB percentage that you want to give to the farmer.
Let's break these figures down and these terms down. There's a world price market for cocoa.
Yes.
Is that different from the FOB, and how?
Yes. So you have a futures price, which you are determining in a length of time, a period of time.
Say within a year.
Within a year. Then you have the spot price, which you are saying that today, if I have my money cash and I'm going to the world market, how much am I going to buy it? Usually, a spot price will be higher than a futures price. Because, of course, cocoa is not an instant thing. You need to plan. So if you just go to the market and say, I want to buy 1,000 tons of cocoa, of course it's going to be a higher price. Okay. So usually, a spot price is higher than the futures price. And so, but we do the free on board price, which is usually the futures, and then you decide on the prices. So once you do the futures, it means that you cannot switch the prices as the prices go up and down.
That is understandable. So the free on board price will mean that there's a world market price, yes, and then government does certain additions and subtraction, including cost of production, of the production chain, and sets an FOB price. So that FOB price is the price that you are supposed to buy the cocoa at the farm.
So the FOB price is usually, so free on board is everything that goes to the up to the ship. You go to the vessel. All right. There are certain costs that you don't include on it. So it's basically the cost of the cocoa and other costs, but you don't include maybe insurance and all that stuff. But then that will be a world market price. But when you come to Ghana, and they will say that because Cocoa Board has other branches like CMC, like quality control, like CRIC, and they have to also take into consideration their overhead cost, then they decide that FOB price, they will give the farmer a certain percentage.
Okay, we'll get to that. So what it means is that at the time of calculating the FOB, even though government has a say as to what the FOB price will be depending on the variables it's going to use, that FOB becomes Ghana's world price for consideration.
Exactly.
So then the understanding is that farmers should get 70% of the FOB.
Yes, between 66 and 70%, depending on the.
So there's no law, there's no policy that says 70%?
No, see, the maximum. So basis your cost and other factors, the maximum that you can give, that would be reasonable for Cocoa Board to operate, will be usually 70%. I mean, to be fair, if you go beyond 70%, might be crippling, because apart from that, you need to consider the haulers margin, the buyer's margin, to consider warehousing cost and everything else. So 70% is really the maximum that usually any government can go. But it ranges between 65, 64, up to 70%.
And this is calculated in tons, and a ton is actually made up of 16
bags. So it's calculated in tons. So what you do is that you get your FOB price, then you take 70% of that, then you multiply by the dollar, because it's in dollars. Then you multiply by the CD equivalent. So let's say now it's 10.35 or 10.4. What you get, you divide by 16, because a ton is 16 bags.
And
then
that
you
becomes
get
the price,
farm gate price.
But that will be in dollars.
That will be in CDs.
That
because it's multiplied by the exchange rate of 10 point something, or 15, or whatever the exchange rate is. So now you get the CD equivalent.
Now let's probe the figures by the government, looking at this understanding. The government is patting itself on the back and saying that it has increased the FOB price, and you only did about 4,800. They are doing 7,200.
Okay. The government did not increase the FOB price. It is determined by world market factors.
But they decided to add certain variables.
No. World market. If the world market goes to 12,000 today, the FOB price will be higher, and the farm gate price will be higher, because it's the world market, is demand and supply.
So you see that the FOB, which is the basis upon which the government is saying that it has at least done something to meet the needs of farmers, is not in
their hands. It's not in the hands of the government to decide. If they would decide, if it was in their hands, why move to 7,000 to, why not go to 10,000?
Because I mean, it's just a matter of being fair to both the producers, to government, and to farmers.
I'm saying that the cocoa, we don't use it mostly ourselves. We sell it to the international market, and then the international market detects the prices for you, and based on what the prices you go out there and you get, then you decide that I'm giving 70% of that to my farmer. So really, what you have control over is the percentage that you give to your farmer, and is the exchange rate that you have, right? So you can decide to give 100% to your farmer. I mean, the international market, they don't care.
But if you say government doesn't have a hand in the FOB, why then would the government say that you decided to set your FOB as low as 4,800?
So they are saying that no. So they are now looking at the percentage that we give.
Look,
that
before the percentage that was given as a producer price, they said that you've put your FOB at 4,850.
We didn't put it there. We went out to the market, and then
the statement specifically reads that it is significant to note that for the 2024-2025 cocoa season, the previous NPP administration set an FOB value of 4,850 per ton of cocoa. My emphasis is set.
If you read, representing 63.9%. So it's actually, the finance minister is smart. So we set the 63.9%, which translated into 4,850. So what really we had the control over was the percentage of the FOB. But we didn't have control over the FOB itself. So we could have set the percentage to 70%, which would have translated probably into maybe $5,000 or something. But then based on these instances, we set at 63.9.
So you said that if we are to judge any of the governments, we shouldn't be thinking about whose FOB price is what. We should be looking at the percentage of the FOB price that is given to the farmer.
You should look at the percentage of the FOB price. You should look at also other interventions that the government brought on board to boost production, because it's not just about the price. It's about boosting production. It's about ensuring sustainability, about ensuring traceability, and making sure that all the players in the value chain are well catered for, and then their businesses are sustainable.
On the first point, using the percentage, 70% of FOB price for the NDC government, vis-a-vis 63% for the NPP. Definitely, the NDC has done well than the NPP on this.
Well, it depends. Yes, of course. If you are talking of nominal terms and stuff, of course they have done well with the 70%. But I am saying that it's basis. If you do anything below 70%, you are going to go down. You are going to reduce the current farm gate price of 3,001. It's going to go below 3,001, and that will be very, very bad for the farmer. So at some point,
so you said that they didn't have a choice but to do.
They didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice because of their own words. They didn't have a choice to do 70%, because if they do below, or they do this 66, this 3,228 will even come down below 3,001 that we gave.
But have you considered the fact that when you did 63%, you were able to hit 3,100 because at the time you had performed so poorly that the value of the currency was at 16 cedis to $1?
No, the issue is that, that's why I'm saying that it depends on the players and the factors that you use to consider. Okay, if you say we did so poorly, there are a lot of things that happen. I don't want to go into the usual rhetorics that we say. My point is that when they are quoting now 3,228, on what basis did they decide during our tenure that they could pay 6,000 Ghana cedis?
Because if you look at the time, I think the argument they made clearly was that look at the market factors. If the government had pushed to 70% and at a 16 cedis per dollar rate, then you'll be doing close to 6,000 cedis.
No, because at that time they were looking at the spot price and not the futures price, which we had already agreed and contracted and were binded by. So if at that point we had agreed on a certain figure, I think $3,600 per ton or something, and you knew of these factors, which is why you were quoting 4,850, you knew. So why did you then come to Ghanaians and say world market is at $10,000, so they should be paying you equivalent of 70% of $10,000?
You think they make that demand based on faulty mathematics?
They made that demand because they were calculating and they were manipulating, and they deliberately decided to disingenuously deceive Ghanaians and to the cocoa farmer. Because see, the cocoa farmer at Asenkregwa, cocoa farmer at Manson Kwanta, Bebuabon, those places, I'm telling you, they don't know the intricacies of these world market prices and the way they play out into determining the farm gate price.
Yeah.
All they know is that as we speak, someone will Google for them and say world market price is at $10,000 per ton. And someone will say, oh, if they are giving us 70% or 60%, it should be $6,000 times now. Someone will do this small calculation, easy calculation for them, and then they will buy it, which is what the NDC did disingenuously, forgetting or deliberately refusing to acknowledge that we had already signed an agreement which was not giving us $10,000 per ton as FOB price, because we were bounded by that agreement and we couldn't decide not to honor that agreement and say, you have taken the syndicated loan already, the money already. Why are you deciding not to sell to us by going to sell on spot price?
Do you agree that with the appreciation of the cedi, even though it means that at 70% of the FOB price, farmers are just getting a little about 100 cedis more compared to what they got last year, but they may be better off? I mean, fuel prices are cheaper. The Minister of Finance in Parliament said a number of things. There've been reduction in prices generally, and so the 3,200 that they are holding is of more value than the 3,100 that your government gave.
Before I answer, cement prices are up. Fuel prices, who said, are going down. We've increased 4 cedi 50 pesos per gallon.
But I mean, they've come all the way from 16 cities to 12 cities.
Electricity prices are up. Water prices are up. Some utility prices, most of them are up. The
finance minister gave a host of items that have been reduced.
Yes. So what of the host of items that have gone up? Every Ghanaian, the major thing that every Ghanaian, when they get money that they want to use as, they are doing well or they are being responsible, is to do what? Is to build a house. Now you go, cement prices are up, iron rods are up. So if you go to a village, and I know I've stayed in the village, I've worked there with the farmers for so long, that the thing that comes to mind when they get their cocoa money is to go and buy cement and build a house, get some 2 bedrooms and live in. Now that price has shot up, and you are telling me the farmer is better off?
You think the farmer is worse off?
Transport prices are going to go high because you have increased their fuel.
I mean, so COPEC has argued that there's no basis whatsoever for transport fares to go up, and per their checks with groups like GPRT, they do not intend to let prices go up.
I'm telling you, just recently they said transport fares are going to go up in the next week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That there's a group that has come to say that, but I mean, COPEC, which has been following the fuel politics of Ghana,
driving the cars, who own the vehicles, the drivers who are buying the fuel.
We've not seen the regular transport companies like driver groups like GPRTU say that they are going to increase their
price. We live to see. But there's another point that I would like to make. President Mahama, a few months or weeks back, told Ghanaians that the cocoa prices that has been discussed with him by the Cocoa Board CEO are very, very good, and Ghanaians are going to enjoy it, and that it was going to be higher, significantly higher than Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast, mind you, world number one producer of cocoa, we are number two. We get virtually the same price, or even because our cocoa is rated as premium quality. In certain circles, our cocoa sells higher than IVC. As we speak, Ivory Coast is selling or buying from farmers at 3,635 Ghana cedis. Even after we have a premium status in the world as having premium cocoa, and by so doing, we get higher prices mostly than Ivory Coast. They are giving their farmers 3,635. We who have premium status and they are saying we are better off, we are going to increase our prices significantly higher than theirs, we are going to give our farmers 3,228. It's about 407 Ghana cedis lower than Ivory Coast. What this means is that we are incentivizing smuggling. Now, all the people along SM, Joaboso, Dadieso, Akontomra, Bonsunkwanta, and Samra Boy areas, I'm telling you, the BA areas and Krankwanta, all those people who are there, Doma, who are now going to have cocoa very close to the border, can easily earn extra 407 Ghana cedis, no sweat. What is the incentive for them to give to Ghana?
So you think that this is going to encourage smuggling?
To encourage smuggling, because the guy who is at Bonsunkwanta, Africa, shares a border. It's just a river that crosses from Africa to Ivory Coast. And there's a shed there buying cocoa. So why would he bring here at 407 cedis lower instead of carrying there at 407 cedis higher? Every businessman wants profit.
But the government has also announced
we are going to encourage smuggling.
The government has also announced, measures to help farmers. The finance minister said they are bringing back the free fertilizers. There's going to be scholarship scheme at the tertiary level for students or whose parents have cocoa farms. All these put together.
Fertilizers, free insecticides. They've been in the system for ages.
Haven't they been
used to give this free spraying, cocoa spraying? Kofor that brought it.
Didn't at a point in time in the recent past, then the government put a hold to some of these?
And some of these are a build up also in the price. So the argument is that pay me well as a farmer. Pay me well as a farmer and decide what I use my money for. If I want to use my money for fertilizers, so be it. I use the well-paid funds to buy fertilizers. If I want to use for insecticide, I use it. If I want to use for my child's education, I use it. To build a house, I use it. You don't decide for me what I use with my money. You can bring some incentives that can help, but you pay me well. And which is what the NPP government did. We paid the farmers well. We increased 660, went to 800, then to 1,003, then to 2,070, then to 3,001. Every year there was an increment because we wanted the welfare of the farmers. And then this is what, maybe they are not talking to the farmers. This is what the farmers were saying. Pay us well. We decide what to use our money for. You don't decide for us that you're going to give us fertilizers, insecticide. We know the best insecticide for us because they've been receiving training, and we will do that. And these free things are mostly also plagued with a lot of corruption. Because you say, we are giving free 3,000 to Samra Boy farmers. 2,000 will get there. The 1,000 within the chain, it will get lost. Pay me well, I'll use my money to buy my own stuff, right? And there are other things that you can use to also boost production. Another factor is that every government decides what to do at that particular point in time to boost production. So the previous government, through the Cocoa Board CE, hand pollination, cocoa rehabilitation efforts, so all the dead cocoa trees and all those trees, he had other measures to boost production. So if you say, oh, because I'm doing hand pollination, I'll not pay them well because I'm doing this. You want to supply fertilizer. Someone wanted to do hand pollination. Someone wanted to do cocoa mass spraying. All these are efforts that we use to boost production. So don't come and then overemphasize your effort to boost production and put it higher than another person's effort. At the end of the day, the bottom line is pay the farmer well. And this is what the MPP government did.
Let's look at the press conference by the minority today. The demand is that government revise your notes, increase the amount you're giving to farmers. You have maintained on this platform that we use a futures format. Now that the prices have been set, I mean, it is a closed book, I believe.
We are holding the government to his own words. See, you can't say preach virtue and practice vice. You can't say certain things to win power and then do just the opposite and do otherwise. Ghanaians need to hold this government accountable for the things that they have said. This government is having a field day because it is strategically deciding to do committing murder in the space of their goodwill. Because they promised a lot, and within this time that they are enjoying this goodwill, they are doing a lot of things. They promised 24-hour economy. We are not seeing anything yet. They promised that they are not going to increase the tax burden on the Ghanaians. They came up with electricity increase, water increase. They are now increasing fees and charges 30 to 40%, growth and sustainability levy extra 2%. They are doing a lot of stuff because they are enjoying goodwill. But there's a time that Ghanaians should rise and speak. Ghanaians should speak because, you see, when we keep quiet, which is why my minority is always talking, we are drawing the attention of Ghanaians to the fact that this government is having a field day because Ghanaians are giving them too much goodwill. And because of that, they are abusing the goodwill. And all the promises that they said they would do, they are going back and reneging on these promises because they think they have goodwill and no one is talking. Minority decides to talk and they say, hey, you are doing this, you are doing that. But we are just calling the attention of Ghanaians to the very things that the NDC government promised and they are not doing. Okay, because on what basis will you say, oh, I'll give you a lot, you'll be happy with the prices? Two things, you'll be happy with the prices and it will be higher than IVC. Then you come back and you give 407 cedis lower than IVC. And we shouldn't talk. On what basis did you stand to say 1 month back that you are going to give higher prices? Because the world market price from 1 month and now has not changed that significantly. So what calculations did you do to arrive that you give higher when in fact is lower? So if you are talking of significantly higher, we'll be talking around 4,000 Ghana cedis because they are at 3,635 now. So if you are giving higher, something in the region of 3,800, 3,900, 4,000, right? But now you are giving 3,200. So what are you doing? So this government, you see, but before long, the accountability door, people will be knocking it. And it will just be their chickens coming home to roost. It will just be whatever they said coming back to hand. Because you see, Ghana will remember at some point. The farmers now, today, will remember at some point. There's a certain finance minister then, a certain minority leader then, and a certain ranking member for Agric then, who came to their doorsteps and promised them heaven. He was going to give them 6,000 Ghana cedis. And now he's doing otherwise. And this is what we are calling Ghanaians to do. It's that dishonesty. And we need to call all politicians out, including the minority as well, that if you know that this is the right way to go according to it. Don't promise us when you know that this is definitely what is happening. You know that cocoa is traded basis futures, but you use the spot price to campaign against the government. It wished for 6,000 to 7,000 Ghana cedis. When you knew the right thing,
you believe Ghanaians should speak up?
Yes, Ghanaians should speak up.
Thank you very much. So that is the Member of Parliament for Kwabre East, the Honorable Akwasi Onyina-Acheampong. Of course, we've understood the perspective of the minority on this matter, and for somebody who has been practicing in this field since 2005, is taking us through the pricing model within the cocoa sector as well as the value chain.